I'm Dr. Frank Cadle with the Get Fit and Be Lean program, and TikTok, the app, has posed the question, what's the best way to lose fat? And this is an excellent question. Obviously, there are just a ton of different approaches to weight loss out there. There's carnivore diets and keto diets and vegetarian diets and low-fat diets. There is medication, including new medications that have just been released, Wegovy, semaglutide. There's surgery, which really shows some of the best results. And one thing I was taught as a physician is that if there are a whole lot of different approaches to the same issue, one thing you can be sure is that none of them really work all that well. Because if one approach works really well for everybody, that's the approach. You don't even know about the other approaches, and nobody is working on trying to develop another approach. So why do I feel qualified to answer this question? I do have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and nutrition from Virginia Tech. I'm also dual board certified, university and fellowship trained, practicing physician, licensed in 2 states. I've been in practice for more than 20 years. But also, I personally lost more than 20% of my body weight in 2021. I did this all without any medications, without surgery and its risk of complications that occur even years later. I lost more than 5 inches off my waist. I lowered my cholesterol by more than 20 points. I lowered my systolic blood pressure by over 20 millimeters of mercury. And I did it all without any medication. In fact, I was able to get off of my reflux heartburn medication because of the weight loss that I achieved. I didn't purchase any equipment. There was no enrollment, subscription, or membership involved. And I did it all right on TikTok with videos that you can see going back to January 1st of 2021. So I feel that I'm very qualified to answer this question, but it's not a very simple question, and the answers, of course, are not simple either. The basic knowledge information is that the way you lose fat is with what's called a calorie deficit, fewer calories in than you are putting out. And this is an absolute, this is true. But what that simplification doesn't take into account is that calories are calculated kind of like you're an oven. And if you put in wood, how many heat units do you get out? Whereas we are not an oven, we're not a machine. We are much more like a very complex manufacturing complex. And so all of the foods that we eat have not only a caloric content component, but they also have different nutrients and micronutrients, including minerals and vegetables and fiber, vitamins and fiber. And so it would be simplistic just to say, this is how many calories is in your food, and that's what we say, but it is very simplified. The other thing is that our bodies undergo a number of different adaptations when we are attempting to lose weight or in a calorie deficit. And one of the most dramatic of these is a process called thermogenic adaptation. And thermogenic adaptation actually decreases the number of calories that your body burns when you're at rest, when you're not doing anything at all. And it turns out that these calories are actually the majority of the calories that you burn throughout a day. So even if you are exercising, it is the calories you burn when you're not exercising that determine the majority of your calories burned. The other thing is, with exercise, you get conditioning. And conditioning has an impact that decreases the total number of calories required for whatever activity you're talking about as your body becomes conditioned to that activity. So it's easy to say calories in, calories out, and that's what you need to do to achieve fat loss. The reality is, if you cut your calories enough, you're not going to just be achieving fat loss. If you don't get adequate protein, you're going to undergo some muscle loss as well. And so I really try to stay away from that catchphrase. And in fact, when you see the many people who promote different strict, restrictive dietary approaches, usually involving something they want to sell you to supplement the things that you're missing out on because of their restrictive diet. Those people are really missing out on the fact that the most important part of fat loss from an individual standpoint is it sustainable? Can you do this over the long term? And that is a question that goes far away from the calories in, calories out, or any kind of keto or carnivore or vegetarian, low fat. Doesn't matter what kind of diet you pick. A diet needs to be something that you have, not something you're on. And this is why with the Get Fit and Be Lean program, I designed it to focus on portion control, first of all, because the research is clear. Eat more portions, get more calories, you're going to be overweight. There has been portion creep in the Western world, particularly in restaurants and prepared foods, and the single serving portion can vary for hundreds of calories. So the portion control plays a huge role in ensuring that you become satisfied with less food, allowing your stomach to shrink, decreasing those stretch receptor signals to your brain so that your brain gets the idea that you're full. The other impact is with portion control, you still can eat the foods that you want. Now, it's important to maintain a wide variety of foods from the nutritional standpoint. Remember, I said we're not an engine, we're a large manufacturing complex. And yes, there has been a researcher who's shown if you have a calorie deficit on nothing but Twinkies, you will lose weight and you will even improve some of those biological markers that we look at as a marker for health. But the reality is that if you have a broad, varied diet, you're much less likely to suffer from any kind of deficiency, and you don't need any supplements, any kind of teas, any cleanses. You're going to get enough fiber, and fiber is a big focus of the Get Fit and Be Lean program in the aspect of the 2 veggie goal. And the 2 veggie goal means 2 servings of raw or steamed vegetables with lunch and 2 servings with dinner. And what do I mean by a vegetable? A lot of times when I ask people that, they'll say lettuce, and they're right. Lettuce, yay, it's a vegetable. It's a leafy green, grows above the ground. Then they'll say tomatoes. Tomatoes are actually a berry. They're thin-skinned. They contain seeds. They also contain the nutrients that the plant uses to reproduce the seeds. I'm looking really more for fiber stuff. So carrots are a tuber. They grow below the ground. When I talk about the 2 veggie goal, I'm talking about lettuce, yes, but if you can only come up with lettuce and spinach, you're going to have a hard time meeting the 2 veggie goal. So what I recommend is that you broaden your intake to include things maybe you didn't eat before, like arugula and fennel and broccoli rabe, and all of these leafy green vegetables that grow above the ground, Swiss chard. These kind of things can require some adjustment, not only of your palate, but in the way that you shop and that you eat when you prepare your foods. But it can really provide a lot of that satiety, that feeling of having eaten enough, that goes a long way towards fat loss. Now, the final part of the program is calisthenics, exercise. Exercise is absolutely vital, and I started with calisthenics, 3 simple calisthenics: sit-ups, push-ups, jumping jacks. I recommend that you do the same, and that you can adjust these to your own abilities. You can look back at my videos starting on January 1st of 2021. I was struggling to do even half a dozen push-ups, maybe 5 sit-ups, and a dozen jumping jacks. You can do these in the comfort of your own home. They don't require any equipment. They don't require for you to go anywhere. And you can start today. And if you can't do a sit-up, just lay flat on your back, lift your shoulders up off the ground. If you can't do a push-up, cross your ankles and bend your knees, do a half push-up or do a push-out from a counter or a firm surface. And by starting today with portion control, the 2 veggie goal, and calisthenics, you can achieve significant fat loss. You could do it probably before the summer if that's your focus, but I was really looking at a long-term solution. And that's why I continue to promote it, and I continue to practice it, and I continue to recommend it.